Hey, I'm Josh, this is Pat, and this is Pastor Chat. So, hey, Pat, great message today.
Thanks. Do you mean that, though? Like you say that every week. Do you mean that?
No, not really. I'm just trying to be nice.
Okay.
But no, really.
Okay.
It was okay. It was a good message.
Okay.
I really do mean it this time. Hey,
Yes.
it sounded like you. I really
did.
mean it this time.
You did.
But anyway, so here we are in our Christmas series.
Yeah.
And Christmas is one of those times of year where we're joyous and we're happy and we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. And yet today in your message, you talked about grief and pain. Can you tell us why that was in the middle of our Christmas series?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, it's part of the Christmas story. So we leave that part of the Christmas story out so often, but we shouldn't. It's part of the story, but it's also part of our story. And in fact, it fits at this time of the year because studies have proven that people that are working through grief and struggles and pain, this is sometimes the worst time of the year for them around the holidays. So whether they've lost a loved one or going through a divorce or a major change in their life, it's the holidays that bring out some of the greatest grief. So it's applicable both because it's in the original Christmas story and it's something that most of us are dealing with this time of the year.
Okay. Well, one of the things that you also talked about is oftentimes we try to avoid grief. You know, we have grief in our lives and we don't want to face it. Can you maybe speak to why we would do that other than the obvious? Is there something other than the obvious? But how do we get a different outlook on that to where we see that maybe grief is a healthy thing?
Yeah. Well, I think part of the reason, like I said in the message, we avoid grief because it's painful. I mean, we don't like pain. But I think that then we use these bad coping mechanisms, but we also miss that God can do something in that grief that he cannot do at any other time in our life. There's something that God will do in our life in the midst of our grief and our suffering that God maybe can't do any other place or any other time. And so I don't think we sometimes recognize that or we ignore that truth, or maybe we've heard it before and we don't want to believe it because pain is difficult, grieving is difficult. But the truth is when we're going through grief, when we're going through suffering, as we all will, God will do something. Grow us in a way that he cannot grow us at any other time. Would you agree?
No, yeah, I would absolutely agree. And the next thing that I would ask on that is, so we're going through grief, right? We're experiencing grief, and we realize that it's okay to grieve in these instances, but how do we get to a place where we make sure that it stays healthy and not unhealthy? Do you think that is it a possibility that you can grieve in a way that's not healthy?
Yeah. Way to lob me an easy question. Like there's entire books written on that, right?
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. So okay, we'll unpack this in the next hour. But no, quickly, I would just say, you just keep taking it to God. Just keep taking it to God. I mean, seriously, there are entire books written on this. It is a long answer, but the simple part of it is, if we will continue taking it to God, even in those moments where maybe you feel anger, I mean, even in those moments where you're just unleashing fury into the heavens or at God, do it. But just keep going to God. As long as you start stuffing it down, as long as you start using other coping mechanisms, as long as you start trying to deal with it on your own, you're going to have a mess. So I know there's a deeper answer and a longer answer, but the simple one would be, as long as you keep taking it to God, you're on the right path.
Good. No, appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out and sharing this awesome truth about this great message, and I really mean it this time, that you preached.
Perfect.
And that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, man.